tax on the phone was put care of the people by fraud? Spanish something war was never. Who wrote that? I don't know what it says. Maybe you can tell me what it says. Do you put all previous years on the 1041, or do you? We've already answered that. You can do it either way. You can make up one for each year, or you can do it all in 1 year. And that's what he did. He did it all in 1 year. I mean, he just put it all on one form and sent it in. Every one of them he had ever done. He went back and found out everything he had paid into them. $250,000.
The question is it true that a federal tax on the phone was put to the people who fought the Spanish-American War and was never removed?
This I don't know. It says, is it true that federal tax on the phone was put to the people to fund the Spanish-American War and was never removed? I don't know. Somebody may know that. You research it. People like to get on the internet. I don't know. Has anyone successfully had a bond processed by anyone you sent it to? What do you mean had it processed? Yeah. One lady called me and she said she called Puerto Rico. She got hold to somebody down there and they said, we got more of these bonds and we don't know what they're about and we don't know what to do with them. But we got them all. You see, what it is, what you're doing is simply saving your assets. You've been giving them to them. You earned them all your life, and now as you start getting older, they start taking them all away from you simply because we don't know that they become, anytime something becomes a debt, you don't owe anything. If it becomes a debt to you, you don't owe it. There are no debtor's prisons. What happens go into court is people go in there and the judge said, okay, we're going to find you guilty and we're going to give you a year in jail and this and this and and he says throw him in jail. Where did he get that from? There's no debtor's prison. He didn't tell him that he didn't have any money to pay the debt with. He was arguing with him about all this other stuff. You can't do that, and he said, watch me. The issue is that they know we can pay. And under the law merchants, if you can pay and refuse to, you are put into jail until you pay what you owe or agree to pay. And we go in there shaking there, I ain't paying you. So they say, okay, you're going to sit in there till you decide to pay us. And this is what it's all about. Did you?
The first time, the lady, when I answered Manuel Diaz,
he's not there.
Was the Secretary of the Treasury. I got no other word out of her. Period. I mean, it was dead silent. Never said another word. So I called back, and I through the voicemail I went to the Treasury Department. Got this lady, and the same result. They just don't respond.
Yeah. See, they know what's happening, and it's no different than the acceptance for value. What we didn't know in the acceptance for value when we was teaching it is what we know now about writing across there, accepted, returned to you for closure. That's all you have to do with an accepted or a bill of exchange, because it's the same thing. It's a promise to pay. You say, if I live to be 500 years old one of these days, if we ever get gold and silver back, I'm going to pay you. That's the only time you're ever going to pay someone is when you get gold and silver. Anytime the money has an intrinsic value. If it has no intrinsic value, it is paper. It's worth nothing. And so it's causing, and they have well over 15 million bills of exchange sitting in Washington, D.C. So I hope they get well over that many of those sitting in Puerto Rico. See? They know they're good. They don't know what to do. But they know they're good, see, because you wrote them. I didn't say that. I said this is what this man did. This is what the man did in North Carolina, and he went before the group and he showed them the check and he made a speech and all this other stuff. So that's what they reported to me. That's what they told me. They, again, see, they being the IRS told me in the beginning 3 years is all they would pay. Well, he went and put everything and they paid for more than 3 years, so it's evident that they lied again. So I filed an extension for extended time to pay to give me more time to understand this information you talk about. Can I still? Sure. Can I still file a 1041 for all years I've paid in? Also, I have a computer business that is incorporated as a sole proprietor corporation. Will this affect my ability to file 1041s? No. You're doing it as yourself. You're not the corporation. The corporation has a name. If you're incorporated, you are not the corporation. There's always a debit and a credit side. There's always a corporation and there's a real person. And so don't get trapped into that thing, well, you got a corporation, you're sunk. You can pull yourself away from anything that you've ever done. Simply why? You just speak it. You say, that's fraud you presented me with. I don't have to pay attention to that. You see, let the person come forward that says you signed the contract. There must be someone who says you signed the contract. And you can't sign a contract with a corporation. I know you're doing it all the time. You can't sign one. They can't sign because a lawful contract requires 2 signatures. You can have a unilateral contract, but you look it up in your law dictionaries.
Black law.
No, not Black's Law, just any of them. And it simply says that a unilateral contract is a contract made by one attorney or several attorneys with a specific intent to defraud somebody out of money. It states it right there. That's why I started getting an idea about all this stuff. I kept hearing this thing, unilateral contract. So I went in one day and with a guy named Robert Averitt, and Robert was smarter than anybody I ever knew. I mean, he could read them books, and he said he understood them, but I asked him one day, how many's in here? He said, 1 million. I said, how many of them have you mastered? He said, none. So I said, you got a long way to go, Robert. But I asked him, I said, would you show me where you can find about contract? And I opened it because I want to find out about that unilateral. And that's what it said. It says a contract made by an attorney or a group of attorneys with a specific intent of defrauding people out of their money. Does the doctor you spoke of who wants to accept bonds from the patients have to put up monies, credit, in the form of a voucher to send with a bond to the U.S. Secretary of Treasury? No, she just takes that if you give it to her, and she takes it just like everybody else is doing and send it to them. But you have to tell them what to do with it. You have to tell them down there how you want it done. Please, one of your people gave me this. Please put this into my account and give them the account in the bank you are in. Uh-oh. Somebody's written me a accepted and is this correct? Accepted and returned foreclosure in this matter. Return the voucher. You are using my exemption. If you think you're representing me, you are fired. That's true. That's the way it should be, every time.
You need that part about if you're representing me? You are fired?
I think it's good in some cases, yeah.
In some cases, which cases?
Well, anytime you're dealing with an attorney. What exactly can I use a bond for? You can use it to pay taxes, property taxes, or income tax, property tax, credit cards, mortgages on houses. Huh? Do what? Corporations. Yeah, any debt to a corporation. That's true. Huh? Loans, anything like that. The only thing you be scared, banks are not incorporated. What they do is they give it to an incorporated mortgage company. Banks are not incorporated. The reason you know that, you can go and get an answer on anything from, I think it's from the head teller up to the top. Any of them can answer any question. You go in the bank and ask them. You can't do that in a corporation. You can only answer what the attorney tells you to answer. After you file a copyright at the county level, do you need to file it with the Secretary of State? No. What you do is the power of attorney done the same way, yes. The power of attorney with the bonds is probably more important than the copyright, although you can still use the copyright. But these are never required to file with the Secretary of State. You can file them by putting them on a UCC3 and put them in with your UCC1, but they don't have to be. Do you know Greenspan's house was broken into the same day as shuttle explosion? No, I didn't. Somebody, they broke into his house that day? I had not heard that. That's interesting, though. If it was a real break-in, he deserved it. Huh? I see. Have you heard about Irving Schiff and Judge banning his book, Federal Mafia? Irwin's been into a lot of problems in his life. And what he tells you is true. What he doesn't tell you, I mean, he's not a bad guy. He's not out there trying to get people in trouble. But what I've found, though, most of them, and Lynn Meredith, all the people in We the People, they've never sat down to figure out what's going to happen to them when the feds come in. They never sit there and figure that out, and then the feds come in, the first thing to do is go get a lawyer. Then they get in trouble. Now, I don't know if Irwin does that. I've been to 2 or 3 of his seminars. I used to go listen to anybody talk about the IRS. And he'd come into town, I'd always go to his seminars, because he'd always talk about it. But I'm not for Irwin Schiff, I'm not against him. I'm for anybody that's trying to break free. And so, Irwin's all right as far as I know. It says, when you accept and return foreclosure, is it best to use a red marker and write across the page? It doesn't matter if it's red as long as it's not black. As long as it's, you can tell it's an original. It can be red, green, blue, pink, whatever. But as long as you can tell it from black, because black indicates that you've made a copy. And one of those bonds has to be an original. And when you write this across it, then you want it to be where they know you wrote it. What is the process of securing a bond? What do you mean secured it? Writing it? No, you just write it. And you can get those from Larry. And by the way, if the ones of you that wanted the books, I had books made today. So, is Rosati still commissioned? No. I forget the man's name, but I've seen it. No, he is not. He quit. They don't like. They. I tell you what, they've never had anybody really stay at. Rosati probably stayed there longer than anyone. But them people usually quit like crazy because they're always getting threatened to be fired. I mean, they're always threatening to take them into court and sue them and all that stuff. If a bond is relieving a debt, for example, to pay off a car, why would a bank go to the trouble of repoing the car? Because they can steal it back from you and sell it. And it's all it is. It's a civil matter from that point. It doesn't have anything to do. They have the right now from the police to go out and steal your car. And then the police will tell you, well, we can't do anything about it because it's a civil matter. That's between you and the bank. But yet you go steal a car and you're in trouble. So, if it is paid, why would they care? Because they don't get the interest. They're after the interest. I'm sorry. We better get out of here, I guess, then. Yeah. Okay. Let us leave. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Yeah.